All right, my friends, welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Bev?
I'm doing well. I'm doing fabulous. Fantastic. Great.
Fabulous.
That's right. I don't know, it's like there's so much going on. Like for starters, we'll just start with where we began this morning. We were just talking about, I just picked up this antique over the weekend, which I absolutely love. So I was getting ready to sage because I have a tendency lately to sage us before we start. Just to burn sage. It just feels good. I like the smell of it. It's a high vibration. To me, it's a high vibration. And it's going right to this cabinet. The whole time it's going to this cabinet because it needed to be, the energy was asking to be shifted basically, even though I had spent a little bit of time with it yesterday, but it's like, I was trying to sage myself and sage the screen and sage you, and it's not going towards us. It's going right towards the cabinet. So okay. So I opened it up and got it all saged to uplift the energy of it, because everything is energy, which means that, if it's in a situation that's not a happy situation, like let's just say if I was holding on to my truck and I was unhappy and angry about the truck and oh, it does all these things, that's got an energy with it. So if I was to turn around and sell it, now that energy, that anger and everything else is with it until the person that gets it just, shifts the energy of whatever they get. You go into your new house, you sage the house, you say blessings, you do whatever you do, holy water, whatever it is, because it raises the vibration to match your vibration or higher. So it's always, for me, it's like always taking that into consideration. I don't always do it right away. And you think about buying just even a shirt at the grocery store now, just going to the store, going to the mall and picking up a shirt or a pair of pants. There's other people that have tried those pants on. There's people that have walked by with all this energy. There's nothing that separates us. So it only takes a few seconds to change that vibration. Bless it, sage it, however your routine is to raise that energy. And I can say the same thing about our foods. And I tell people this all the time. It's not, the foods don't make you fat. It's not all these things that, it's just the energy. How many times when someone's taking a bite of food, they eat it and it's like, shit, I shouldn't be eating this because my weight, or this is going to happen. You've already programmed that food to have a certain effect on your body. And if you bless that food and know that in that blessing, that raised the vibration of the food, that's it. You don't have to worry about how it got there, everything that it went through to get to your plate. You just bless it and appreciate it. So you change the vibration all by itself.
Yeah, I was gonna say that we're not saying carry a stick of sage and light it in Walmart, or well maybe, but Penny, or I gotta sage this piece of clothing before I try it on. No, you can really, it's as simple as saying please bless this pair of pants, or bless this, or surround it with a white light, or use your visualization and see the white light cleansing it, or another beautiful color that resonates with you. So there's so many different ways to do that.
Yeah. It's just whatever resonates with you. And something that's been coming forward a few times now, it's come forward for me to say something to somebody, is to use just the sacred geometry shape for the flower of life. So like you can take the flower of life and have it on, set it down on the counter, just print up a picture, black and white, set your cup on it. You're changing the vibration of that water or fluid or whatever you're drinking right now. Coffee, I don't care. It doesn't matter. We can sit and listen to all this fears. I was reading something yesterday. It said that there's all fluoride or something in certain, all these teas that they didn't know about. And it's like, well, that's just more information to put fear. It's like, oh God, am I drinking the wrong tea? Does it have fluoride in it? It does, none of that stuff matters. It's all energy. So it's just changing that vibrational frequency. I'm not saying go out, get yourself a cup of water, throw in some arsenic and sip it down after you've blessed it. I don't know how that's going to work out for you. It depends on what programming you have within inside of you. But otherwise, it's just energy. It's just a matter of shifting that energy. And I say that, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you look at the research of Dr. Emoto, who took water and just put a word on the container of put anger and shame and whatever words he used on the containers of water, and then froze them and looked at the crystallization of the ice crystals compared to the ones he put love and joy and compassion, right? And use those words. The lower vibrational emotions, that words that he used were more, the crystals were more distorted. It didn't have, I mean, everything has its own beauty in comparison to the higher vibrational emotional words that he used. The higher vibrational emotions were very very beautiful and geometrical and just amazing. The difference. And he did it, I think he did it with music and just putting words on the containers. He used it with people actually talking to it. Like there was different modalities that he used. And so the energy of our words, the energy that we're emitting, wow, incredible.
It is. And then you think about that even in the process of putting a tattoo on your body, because we're mostly made up of water. So we're not really any different than that experiment that he was doing. And that's the thing. So for me, it's like putting stuff that like synchronicity, harmony, finding all these things, different ways of putting these things onto you're going to put tattoos on, like really considering what you're putting on you, how you want to raise your vibration, how it changes everything. Something that maybe goes along the lines of being happy all the time. It's always finding the joy in life. And that's just another way of adding that joy in our lives. When I talk about shifting of energy, and I'm in the process of doing all this too, because everything is energy. My weeds are energy, grass is energy, trees are energy. So it's a matter of me creating the energy or shifting that energy from one thing to the next thing. I really do feel like it's that simple. I live in the desert. If I start growing grass all over my yard because it's just growing grass, not because I'm doing it, so something transitioned that, something changed that. Well, this is my experience. And from my experience, everybody else is in my experience. They're going to show up the way that I have expectations of them showing up. They're going to show up the way that I treat myself, which has been great conversations I've had with a few people. We've kind of hit on this a few times, but it's like, if you really want to be loved and feel loved, well, you got to love yourself. And if you're having separation about something, or you don't like the way somebody's treating somebody else, how are you treating yourself? Everything always comes back to us, and it's an energetic thing. And then once we get through all that stuff, just seeing the basic stuff, we start evolving so fast, really. And I'm noticing how quick things show up. And we've been talking about that, but I'm aware of it. It's just like it happens so fast. It's crazy to me. It's crazy because in the past, I was so familiar with a slower process. Well, because in the past, my slower process was I'm playing tug of war with someone, basically with myself. And I've got my feet so dug into the ground that I can't pull myself out of it. And now I've pulled myself beyond that space. And now it's like, holy shit, everybody slow this right down. Because it's fun and it's crazy, but this is our world. This is what we get to create. And if you want to look outside and you always see desert, well, then you're always going to see desert. But if you want to see something different, start looking at different pictures, start imagining what that looks like. And maybe that ends up pulling you to a different location, or maybe the area around you for some reason changes. And it's not just for some reason, because you create it.
Yeah. My mom years ago, she lived in Missouri, and she was wanting me to move there with her, me and my son. And I told her the reasons why I wouldn't move there, which was snow, tornadoes, humidity, flooding, and mosquitoes you could put a saddle on. I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. So, and then I'm like, I like the desert. I like the beauty of the desert. And she's like, but it's so bland. It doesn't have all the color. It doesn't have all the green. It doesn't, right? Because in humid climates, there's a lot of greenery. There's a lot of flowers, a lot of color. And I said, it's about perspective. It's about how you're seeing the desert. I mean, we have the most incredible sunsets. They're just amazing. And I mean, to come to the end of the day with a gorgeous sunset, it's like, wow. And we have amazing uh thunderstorms. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
thunderstorms. And but also, I mean, even if you take the river rock, when you look at river rock, it looks bland. But when you get water on it, or when it rains, the colors and the blending of I mean, it's like a hidden picture, a hidden beauty, if you
Yes.
will. And once the water hits it, and it's just so vibrant. So I have river rock in my front yard. And every time it rains, I run out there and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, look at all these colors. And it's just so fun and fascinating.
It's awesome. But it's true, and it is a matter of how you look at it. Because I used to feel the same way that your mother would have felt before, because I've lived here my whole life in Arizona. And then when I was working in Phoenix for a chiropractor's office, the receptionist, she had made a comment about, man, I just love the desert. You can drive through and see all these colors and stuff, and we really do.
Yeah.
It's just how you look at things. We have green. We have so many different shades of green. We
Right.
really do. We have these beautiful flowers that come out. We have the trees that are here. I mean, there's just the sands to have, like, even think about Sedona, have the red sands and stuff like that, which I have some around my house. I have to remember the location where it's at, but there's red. So it's like, it just depends what you're giving your attention to, because there is beauty in everything.
We gotta see it.
Yeah.
And it's being in the space, I feel, because this is where I was at in my life, is, when I was in the anger and depression, I couldn't see the beauty of myself, right? And so
Yeah.
for me to see the beauty outside of myself, I need to practice with it in myself. So recognizing and seeing my own beauty. But what we do, I know I know a lot of people that I coach, a lot of my students, we criticize ourselves and then look at others wishing that we were like them.
Yeah.
Instead of turning that inward and go, wow, I just feel like my body is such an amazing machine. It is so incredible. And all the things that it can do that I haven't even tapped into, that the idea and possibilities of all the things that I could do, that is so freaking incredible, right? And each and every one of us have those abilities, but we're too busy looking outside of ourselves for a validation of our beauty.
Yeah.
And then when we're rejected, then there's that disappointment, and I'm not loved and accepted, and that whole story. But once I start recognizing, and it goes back to what you said, loving myself, even just identifying the things about me, myself, my body that were really incredible and dynamic. Actually, once I start tapping into that is when I start seeing more color. When color started being more in my wardrobe, these colorful things that are around me right now, no, they wouldn't have been. Very drab.
Yeah. Very plain. Well, most of my stuff would have been more black.
Yeah.
And gosh, when I think about it, when I was younger, I always wanted to decorate everything in black.
Right. Dark.
Everything. That was my goal. Yeah. And then I am more about colors, and that's just part of your evolution. I just think that's a natural part of evolution. It's at least that's what it's felt like for me when I wasn't trying to control it or wasn't trying to hold back, when I was just being in this flow, because I love color.
Yes.
I mean, I really love it.
Yeah. And when somebody asks me, well, what's your favorite color? I'm like, I can't answer that, because I'm like, I love them all. And now I look at, before I looked at black as that was a color of hiding. And that was a color to me that represented my darkness at that time. And then after I was able to see the colors and how the vibrancy of them, and really recognize how much of it is around me, then I was in a space to hear. I did not come up with this message. I had to hear it from somebody else that really black is the mixture of all the colors. So now even black is beautiful to me. And even, you know, with this chakra thing here, the hanging on my wall, I mean, the black makes the colors pop even more. And to think that all those colors could be a blend to make the black. And so it's like, now I even embrace that as well, the color black. So
Yeah, really our take on things can have a great influence on the energy around us for everything. When everything is good, it's not, there's nothing that's bad. There really isn't. We might perceive some things as bad, but we set ourselves up. Maybe that's how we grow, or how we can evolve. Because we don't all evolve the same way. Let's face it, most of us at some time or another figured the hard knocks of life was how we would get through life. Like that was almost an expectation.
yes,
Not no more.
not no more. And you know, you're going back to that antique piece that you have, the energy of it. Now, a previous owner of it didn't have much joyful energy in themselves. And then somebody else owned it, and now you own it. And it's knowing that, and I had heard this before, and I wanted to hit upon it as well, was, you know, we talked about even just trying on clothes, but being aware that somebody who's owned a piece of furniture for a long time, or a picture, some decor, whatever it might be, if they've owned it for a long period of time, then all those energies that have that piece has been with for a number of years, just taking the time, and then you come and you're just like, I love it so much. Like your energy of that love and embracing that piece is going to be a big contributor to clearing and cleansing that the old energies. So I just want people to be aware that, you know, when you do get some antiques, or you know, go into yard sales and stuff like that, and getting these pieces that you're going to put into your home, to take the time to love on it and clear and cleanse it. And again, you could use sage, you know, that you light in the smoke. You could use a cleansing spray. You can use the white light of Holy Spirit. You can use a vibrant color, whatever resonates with you. Say a prayer over it, light a candle for it, whatever. And just take some time to bring some loving energy into that piece. And if you really admire it so much, like that's going to just be so powerful in the cleansing of that material object, right?
Yeah. Which is probably that's probably out of all the conversation that we've had today, is love is the most important.
Right.
For me to love it, not in an attachment way, not in a, this is mine, would that be still attachment, but loving it, just appreciating it for what it is, because everything is energy. So if everything's energy, everything's alive with energy. If you get a dog from someone that's been abused, and this piece has not been abused, it's been very well taken care of. But if you get a dog that's been abused and you give it all, you show it something else, you give it love, and you help that. It's like bringing that, it's helping that raise that vibration of that animal where it's natural for them to be in that natural flow of things. But you're appreciating with love, that helps that energy to evolve a lot faster. To me, that's a dog's or a person, or nothing's really any different than a piece of furniture, because it's all energy. We're all energy. So it's like this has a new lease on life, a new energy to be within at all times. And that's up to me. That's however I want to be in this space, how I want to appreciate it, because I do appreciate it. I was, wiping it down with polish and stuff, and it's like, man, I just really love this piece. I'd walk out of the room and walk back out. I'm like, man, I really love this. So it's like, and it's just, but it's like a new lease on life for something that's, old. It's been here for a while. As far as energy goes, we have been and will always be.
Right.
So you really can't put a figure on that. There's not a number. We can call it old because we're here in the physical on earth, and that's what we call it.
So fun.
It is.
I know, I just got this rack shelving unit, and I walk in, I'm like, oh, I just like that, and it just feels so good. And knowing, I mean, have started putting some stuff on it, but I'm not complete. And the idea of how am I going to utilize this, and how am I going to, embrace it with decor and all that. So yeah.
And it'll show up. All the stuff will show up. Like amazing things. Gifts will show up. Like all these things are going to show up. And that's funny. Yesterday, so Freeman, and this how all started with, Freeman had bought some styluses. So there's the ones that you can write on your, you can have people sign on your phone or whatever. So, but he had bought like I think there was like 20 of them in a package or something like that. And there was like a rainbow of colors. So I came into my office, there's like a rainbow of colors on my desk. And I'm like walking around with my hand yesterday morning, and I'm walking around. This is how fast manifestation happens. I'm walking around. I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going to put all these, because Freeman walks in the office. He's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to figure out where to put all these, because if I have them out, Vivi's going to be all over them, because she's a color magnet. She'll probably know they're already in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're driving around, we're doing all that stuff. And then it's like, I go on to Facebook because I'm looking for a cushion to create we have like a little cush. It's like a little old golf cart that we will ride around the property sometimes when we go to do certain things, and it needs a new seat for it because it's a piece of plywood right now. So I was looking for something like that, and I see someone had posted up these two things, and they were antiques, and I love antiques. So I'm looking at that, and I'm like, wow. Then I get it home, and he says, well, now I guess you got a place to put all those styluses, don't you? Because it has a drawer in it. And it's like, man, that's so cool. Like and that's how we don't control the outcome of things. You have an idea, you have a desire, you put the shelving unit, stuff's going to show up. It's going to be colorful. It's going to be beautiful. You're going to love it. Then you walk in that space, you appreciate it all the time. And then it's like more stuff shows up, and it just goes from it's just, and I say stuff, but it's just more energy shows up. It's such an amazing place. We are in such a amazing, blessed place, really. And that's perspective. Before I wouldn't have seen it that way. I wouldn't have had an appreciation that I have right now, but I do have that appreciation. It's awesome.
I know, I'm telling you, man, every time we talk about manifesting stuff, I am always, every time it amazes me how quickly it happens. A great example was yesterday. We were in Phoenix, and my mother-in-law and I had gone shopping, and the rest of the crowd went to the gym. And so we get back to the apartment, and it's locked, and they're still out and about. And I'm like, well, like we walk like not even 5 minutes, there's an ice cream shop. And so my mother-in-law, she's like, well, maybe we just have to go have ice cream. In the meantime, like even when we were pulling into the parking garage and getting up to the apartment, I'm thinking, man, I'm about ready for lunch, And she's like, well, maybe we just have to go have ice cream. I'm like, yeah, we can go do that. And in the meantime, I'm like, yeah, I could be using some lunch. I wasn't saying it verbally. I wasn't like I was hanging on to that statement. It was just a thought. And we got, not kidding, we got our ice cream. We sat down at a table, not 2 minutes. That my husband texted me, hey, we're going to B-Dubs. You want to join us? I'm like, yes, please.
Nice.
So, I mean, within what, 10, 15 minutes, that all happened, and so
it's that fast.
Quick.
It is. And it's when you have the awareness, you can have the appreciation of like, holy crap, that's so cool. It happens so fast.
Yes.
It shifts things. Recently, so Freeman had long hair. And recently, because my birthday was on the 15th and his was on the 19th. Well, he decides on the 19th, he's cutting me all off. Okay, I said, you're making me nervous, which is funny. So we could go even further. So go back to attachments to things. I've had an attachment to my hair. We've had this conversation. If you listen to some of our recordings, I had a fear of that, but I had an attachment to my hair. And It's not, and this last month was to let go of attachments. At least for me, I don't know how it's been for everybody else, but I know that that's been the energy that's been out. So it's letting stuff go. We can hold on to it or we can let it go. My truck, for instance, it's just letting those things go and letting myself see what comes to fruition from that. So it's like I go in recently and I was like, I told her I want to, trim off maybe, a few inches off the back of it. Well, when she got done, it was a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. And it was like, huh, this is interesting. It's interesting because I'm recognizing I've evolved from that space and my hair grows so freaking fast anyways. And now it has all this chance to be all the same. Like, I mean, all this stuff is happening. And it was like, holy shit, awareness again. I had an awareness that I could see how I used to hold on to it so much. And I even remember being younger and a figure in the house would be like, oh, girls don't have their hair short. Oh no, you cut your hair, and shaming me for when I had cut my hair back when I was in like 6th grade, junior high. So that was able to go back to that experience because that's what popped up for me. I wasn't looking for it. It just popped up and it was like, okay, now I get where this was coming from and I can let go of that. To the extent of cutting hair that my mom was told, you better not cut your hair. And she's like, F you. And she probably cut her hair, I want to say is as short as yours. Almost, she had longer hair, but she cut it up short. She went as short as she possibly could. And she did it herself. Like, no, you don't tell me. So there was an attachment. There was more than just my emotion that was in that space. And so from then on, I was always afraid of cutting my hair. Oh my God, I'm going to be judged. And people are always saying how beautiful my hair is, all this other stuff. So this attachment, ego was all involved with that too, because I liked the attention that it brought me. So I got it trimmed, recognized that it's, wow, it feels so much lighter. It feels thicker. I mean, it feels all these things. So then Freeman's cutting his own hair. And my first reaction was like, oh God, oh, wait a minute. It's okay. Like I felt that urge, but it was almost like an urge without the emotional attachment, the way I would have felt before. Yep. to feel that panic and everything. And I recognize I'm like, oh, okay, well, have fun. It's just hair. Worst you can do is shave it all off and start over again. Who cares?
Right.
And I walk out and I come back in later and he looks like it changed his energy. Yeah. So we go back to the whole energy of stuff. It's something that was probably weighing on him in some way, but it's like, God, you look really good. And I just kept staring at him the whole time. I kept looking at him thinking, wow, this is so amazing. I said, I've loved you all 50 shades of you. So it's like, you have all this stuff going on. And it's like now, and I see you in this way that I've seen pictures of him before, but now it's just the whole energy shifted. It was so freaking awesome. So I tell that story because it's like, if we're holding on to something that weighs your energy down and it's recognizable, someone else may not be able to see exactly why your energy feels heavy. They'll just know that it feels a little bit heavier. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just stuff that you're holding on to. And by letting go of these things, it just brightens you up. It puts you into a place of receiving such abundance and glory that you have no idea. And it comes from the most amazing places that you don't even have to control. You could just get to be in this loving space, appreciation, which we've been talking about and preaching, but like just to be in that space, just to feel and exist and just, I don't know, revel in that energy as long as possible. Because we dip every once in a while and we don't even have to dip that long. We don't even have to dip that much. We don't have to dip at all, but this is just where I'm at right this moment.
Yeah. And I agree. Like, because like you said, you don't know what was the representation of long hair for him, right? You know what it was for you, but what was it for him? And then allowing yourself to shift it, whether it was just to cut it shorter or super short.
Yeah.
Or shave it off.
Yeah.
That alone could feel like a detachment that is lifting a heavy vibration off of you.
Absolutely.
It's like, I don't have to keep my hair long.
Mm-mm.
I mean, even when I cut my hair this short in my late 30s. And like my entire life, it was long hair was the thing to have. And it's
Yeah,
similar to what you're saying, right? The longer hair, the more your attention, the more people commented and all that. But where we live, the freaking wind blows all the time. So I was always pulling it back, or my hair was, because it's got a natural curl to it. I just, I would look like Medusa, you know, I go outside and it's like, and it's just everywhere. And I just got tired of it.
yeah. Well, it's beautiful the way it is. Because it's just energy, because you're
Right.
beautiful. It's a energetic thing.
But it was also the fear of, well, if I cut it short, what am I going to look like?
Yeah.
Are people still going to like me? It's the same story of, well, if I'm successful and I have a lot of money, how are people going to judge me? How are people going to look at me? How are people going to interact with me? It's same thing. If I don't drink anymore, how are people going to judge me? Are they going to still talk to me? Are they not going to like, are they going to still like me? Right. It's a different topic, same stories.
It's true. But it's happening all the time. It's happening all the time. And then, so that takes me back to the whole judgment thing. You know, I had someone in recently and she was talking about that she was being judged by these people. I'm like, well, do you judge yourself? Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's it. Then, you know, find ways to love yourself and not judge yourself.
Communication. I just
Oh,
had a class the other day, and one of the things was the student wanted better communication between her and her daughter. I said, well, how do you communicate with yourself?
yes.
Oh, you know, it's just like, damn it, you know.
It's true, because
Gotta
those people are
change.
just showing up for you. They're showing up
Right,
for you to evolve.
right. And so
They're not
what,
punishing.
but you know what? You don't know until you know.
It's true. It's true.
You don't know till you know. And I just told her, I was like, you didn't know.
Yeah.
You didn't know that the way you communicate with yourself is showing up in your relationship with your daughter. And then you can't change it until you know. Until you know something different, it's going to stay the same. And so it's like, that's where we have ease and grace with ourselves. We didn't know we could change this, or we didn't know how to change it, or we didn't know how to communicate with the self. But now I do. I had a teacher show up, tell me, well, if you change this one little piece, all your relationships are going to change, not just with your daughter, all your relationships are going to change because you change the way you treat yourself, communicate with yourself. And I said, just watch, change your communication with yourself, watch the rest of your relationships change. It's amazing.
It is. And it's having the awareness and then being, you know, knowing that things, they do change that quick. They really do. To me, awareness is really huge, and probably because it's like I wasn't in that space for many, many years to even have the awareness of any of that stuff. And now it's like seen as like, man, this stuff's been here all along. This is not new stuff. It's always been here.
Yeah.
It's just I was bringing something different forward to myself than I do now. I see things clearer. I would say with more clarity. I have more clarity in everything that I'm doing. And everybody changes, and it's all right. What if those people don't talk to you anymore? Well, guess what? Then they fall away, and it opens up the door for new people to come in. It's for your evolution. That just means that you're no longer a match to that energy. When you find that you're missing somebody, you can send them love and light, but know that the reason you're not hooking up is because there's not a match right now. There's two different vibrational frequency. It's not good or bad. It's just that you're in a space, whether you feel heavier or you feel lighter. It's, you know, it's all a choice. We don't think it is. We make ourselves victim to circumstances. A lot of times that's been a historical thing for myself, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's just a matter of choice. And it goes back to just like you said, it goes back to perspective, how you want to look at everything. You can look at everything as it's helping me grow and evolve. It's helping me to highlight the areas within myself that I haven't shifted through. But as the shifting goes and as it becomes, it's just like less and less, then it's more fun. Then you get into the fun of it all. And
Yeah.
really, if you were looking at it in a fun way from the very beginning, it really is all fun because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to wear that dingy old jacket anymore. I can put this bright colored one on. It's just so simple.
Yep. I recently I had an interaction with a lady a couple months ago. Business person. She's not the owner of the business, but she has a big role with it. And she was outside when I arrived, and I'm standing there and I'm talking to her, and I was just really looking at her complexion, feeling her energy. And then I looked at what she was wearing, and it was a jacket. It was still chilly outside. It was a jacket, kind of a heavy jacket, but it was really tattered and torn. And I was like noticing how that was representing her.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, man, if you could, and it was process for me. If you can even change a piece of clothing, like you've been hanging on to it because of course there's some kind of attachment to it, right? There's something about it that maybe it was your grandfather's jacket and you just can't bring yourself to get rid of it, even though it's like falling apart. Right. And but that the coming apart at the seams, being torn, being worn, and it's got holes. I mean, that's a representation of your energy as well. And maybe if you can't bring yourself to get rid of it, fine. Hang it in the closet, frame it, do something with it to where you still have it, but freshen up what you're wearing, freshen up your environment, freshen up even your workspace, like just adding color, adding some these are fake flowers. I mean, my bamboo plant's real, but some fake flowers, something that's going to brighten up your area, because that really does have an impact on you and your own energy. But she's just very heavy in energy, and it was her clothing actually represented that. And so it's just it was just noticing it. It wasn't that I was sitting there judging her for it. It's not my place to do that. I was just recognizing that the way she was a vibrational match to what she was wearing.
So it just kind of gives you a general idea where they're coming from as well, without, judgment's kind of a very fine line, because it's like, I think we do it in all, I mean, there's a judgment going on, not necessarily, but it's like, I was thinking it helps to, when they're talking, that you have an idea where they're coming from. But when you're in someone's space like that, that's just part of their energy, and you notice all parts of their energy. So it's just a awareness of it, really.
Yeah.
It's being aware of that space, and then you hear, you kind of like connect more in with them, like listening to what they need. So, when we say like, what's my life purpose and how do I show up? Like, what's the best way I can show up? It's like the best way you can show up is to be in a loving space with that energy. And it just gives you so much more information. It's just like so much more information comes into you at that time, which is amazing to help that. When I say, I want to say help that person to lift their energy, but that means there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. So I'm like processing this so differently, like right now as we're having the conversation, because I don't think I really notice a lot of that stuff when I'm meeting with a person. I mean, I might notice some of the things, but then a lot of it's really the conversation, or just stuff that comes up in energy.
Right.
Just comes up. And something else, which is kind of like relevant, but kind of off topic a little bit. I'll notice that when I have people around. So for instance, when I was picking up stuff, this cabinet yesterday, after I left, I started noticing that I was having all this pain in my head. I was having pain into my teeth. Then I felt like attachment, like there's all this whole process that happened that I don't try to rationalize it. Before I used to try to rationalize, like, why am I saying this stuff? Now, in order for me not to, in order for me to have let go of it, or this is where I'm at right now. As soon as I tell the person exactly what I'm feeling or what I picked up and all this stuff, the symptoms and everything for me are gone.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely gone. But it's not even, I would tell you that even in this situation, I didn't feel like, before I would tell you, I would dip down into someone's energy and match them to try to make them feel better and lift them up. And now I just kind of stay in my energy. But I notice these things, and that's one of the things I've noticed. As soon as that comes up, and maybe I've mentioned it before, but I start noticing all these symptoms. I start picking up all this, and I couldn't tell you there was more than one person there, so I wasn't sure where it was coming from. And then I could feel that there was attachment, all these things. So it was just, I'm just trusting my intuition, and that's learning how to trust myself and know that I make the right decisions, which is hard when you've got, so for an example be, if you have people around you that you feel like you can't trust, it's because you can't trust yourself.
Right.
And that was in my experience. I've gone through that process where I was doing that, and now I don't feel that way. I'm actually, it's that all those feelings and those thoughts are so burdensome. They really do hold you down. You really do hold yourself down with a lot of those thoughts. I held myself down with a lot of those thoughts.
Interesting, isn't it?
It's crazy, and it evolves too, because it's not always going to be the same. It's not, I've listened to Dolores Cannon, and she's talking like back in 2012, and she's talking about, teaching these classes and how some teachers have you read by a script and they have you do this and they have you do that. Well, then years and years later, that's how she was teaching it. Like, she kind of set herself up into this time frame. So now that I'm learning the QHHT, I'm recognizing that she did all the same things, but there's some things that I probably would change. But it's not something I would change until later in the future after I played with it. But I'm going to be open to receiving that information and guidance, because things change all the time. We evolve all the time. A lot has changed energetically since, if we want to look at time frames, since 2012. A lot has changed.
Right.
And it's back to that whole trusting myself, because I'll know what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And it's going with that, not sticking to something 100%. No, as long, as keeping everybody's well-being at the highest, that's my highest regard, is to really for the greatest good of all. It's always for the greatest good of all.
And also her scripts and anybody else's scripts are created from their space of attraction, their point of attraction, the people they were attracting, the conversations they were having, the things that they were saying over and over and over and over again, right? And this is,
Yeah,
it becomes their guidelines. And since they have that information, they can provide that to you. And then as you use it, you're going to be like, okay, well, this is working for me, but this part isn't, because this isn't what the people that I'm interacting with are experiencing. They need something more on the lines of this other thing, right? And so then you develop your own scripts, or you're, listening to your own intuitive guidance and messages on how to guide your clients. So it's just recognize everything's created from a space of where we're at. And even
right now,
Doris's stuff, if she wanted to, she could rewrite those scripts, and they would probably end up being completely different, because she's in a completely different space.
it's true. And I'm in a different space, but and also knowing that it's part of the collective consciousness that comes forward to guide for even better information, for a greater good. Because really, it's about a greater good.
And we're just always evolving, always.
We always are.
Just,
Go ahead.
you're just whatever point you're at in your own life experiences, you're going to be attracted to somebody who has information that's going to help you in that moment. Doesn't mean it's gospel, doesn't mean that's the be all do all. It just means this is what I need right now to help me move in a different direction, or move me to the next step.
It's true. And if it's something that you're hearing from us, then it's something to help evolve you, move you to the next step, light a fire under your ass, like however you want to look at it. There's always, it's perspective. It really is. or maybe we're the third time you're hearing it, or maybe we're the first time you're hearing it. And then you're going to hear it some more times to be like, oh, wait a minute. I probably could, put a little bit more attention on what's being said to me right now, have an awareness so my life can be happier, so I can be in a space of joy more often.
Yeah, just remembering that you're constantly evolving. That if you listen to one of our videos or podcasts, that's making a shift in you. So you're not the person you were 2 minutes ago or a week ago, because you've learned something that's going to just shift you, just even like a slight tiny minuscule I can't even think of the word. Minuscule, yeah, just super tiny shift. It's a shift and it counts, right? And so recognizing that within yourself, that, oh, I read this book and this is what I got out of it, and this is what I'm implementing, and this is what I'm changing, all of it counts.
All of it counts. And it's not so one of the things that I was doing initially when I was hearing this stuff, or when I was going through this evolving process, which we're always going to be evolving, I would really look back on the things, how I hadn't shown up in relationships, how I was as a mom, all these things. And I was really beating myself up. But I'm at a place where there's no such thing as past, present, or future. And I may not have shown up the best then, but I have so many more toys to play with now, because we go back to our toy box, right? I have so many more toys to play with now, and I get to see it from that space. And for me, it's changing the way, when I think about those time frames, it's changing the way that I would have seen things. So let's say I was angry and then got quiet and shut myself off from my kids. Well, now, and I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm using that as an example. That's what happened. So now I would look at that same situation that's happened in the past, but there really is no such thing as a past. So I can shift that energy. Now I see it where I see my kids, and instead of the way that I reacted, I react from the space where I'm at right now. And I see myself energetically hugging them in the space that they were at that time. And that does create a shift, because it creates a shift in the energy.
Right.
So it's not having regret about things. But and I'm just saying that's what works for me. But when you're in that space and you recognize those things, be like, oh, well, how do I shift this? Because once you shift that, it changes everything. Like it changes the relationship between you and that person, whether they're in a physical body or a non-physical body. It still changes that experience. That's what I was thinking about, even with this cabinet. If the person, let's just say that people had a bad relationship with this person, and they talked about that story, and that's what they remembered. They're like, that person is no longer in that energy anymore. That person is now in their higher vibration, natural space, not being held down by whatever experiences they had in this lifetime. Now, these other people are still holding that person's energy, almost like in a box somewhere, like making them this bad person, holding on to something. So we go back to the same thing. When we start seeing things and we can start lifting things and giving peace to it, or sending love to that space, or embracing that, seeing yourself embracing that woman that, when she was here, maybe wasn't the happiest, but that was because she was molded by her experiences, and she didn't know any other way. But seeing yourself hugging that person and sending so much love and light from your heart to that person, it totally shifts everything. And no longer are you carrying that heavy energy on you. You actually start changing. You start looking totally different. It's just, I'm constantly telling people, because I've gone through this experience, we weigh ourselves down with so much bullshit that's not even true, and we can shift that energy. But it's just a matter of being open, being aware, and being, asking questions, asking how to shift that energy, how to feel better. Because I want to feel better. I want the person, even the energy that shifted, not to be held back by ties that were from here. That's all negative. That's like a karmic thing. It's setting, I don't know if we even recorded this, because we kind of started talking after our last recording, but it's really setting ourselves up to be in a space of, I'm setting my intentions to no longer, I'm releasing all karmic, releasing all of it. I'm seeing whatever that is, and I'm fixing it. And I say fixing it as if there was a problem. I'm seeing it in a different way. I'm shifting that energy just the same exact way that I was saying before. I'm finding myself in that space energetically, and I'm embracing it. I'm sending love and light to that space because I'm shifting it. We had talked before, the night before Jim had passed, he had sent me a message because we were talking about the I am, and the I am is referred to in a lot of times to God, the I am presence. He was saying and I had mixed it up, but he said, I am. He says, I'll figure this out, or I will know this by my next lifetime, or in my next lifetime. However, he said it, he had worded it, that he set himself up in his intentions that he'll be coming back, and that he has set his intentions that he will know. I do know who I am is, because without knowing that, I feel like we're like, it's so hard. It feels so hard where we restrict ourselves, and things could be so much easier and flowing, and so much joy while we're here, and growing and showing so much love to everybody around us, that creates such a freaking ripple effect. It's like mind blowing. But when he said that stuff, it's like, okay, so I'll see you again when you come back. We're going to come back together, but setting our intentions, like even going to is the time frame, like, okay, I'm aware of the I am. So I'm aware of God coming into my next lifetime. Well, that might be in a time frame that you don't want to be in, because even though we see it as past, you might come back into a time frame where that area, or in that era where that was looked upon as you're trying to exhibit free will, and that was not something that was okay, and you could be crucified for it. So it's like setting your intentions, but not having control over it, being like, man, next time I come back, I'm going to remember, instead of coming into this physical body, I'm setting myself up now. When I come back in, I'm going to remember. I'm going to remember the love of everything. I'm going to remember and feel it and share it. Like that's how we show up in every single day, doing that stuff, and then releasing the karmic stuff. We've been programmed back to spirituality. We've been programmed forever that we have all this karma and we have to get rid of it. We don't have to get rid of anything. We just shift it. We're just shifting things. And we don't have to keep bringing in it. We don't have to come back. Like some people are like, fuck this, I am not coming back. Me, I'm coming back. If I can help the greater good and help such an evolution happen, I'm coming back. I mean, I'm doing it. That's just the way it is. I welcome it. And I will remember, like I set myself up in this space from here on out.
When you talked about the karma, about having to change it, you'll hear that a lot. Like we come into a lifetime with karmic energy from previous lifetimes, and we're here to clean that up, clear it up, then moving into the next lifetime. And what came to me while you were talking about that was that it just goes back to what we were talking about a while ago of shifting the energy with love. So when you said, when I think about, as the example that maybe you had some issues with your kids, maybe that time was when they were growing up, they were teenagers, they're being bitchy teenagers, whatever, that now you can look back on them and you said, energetically give them a hug in that space. You're already clearing that up. You're already clearing up that karma between the two or three or four of you, whatever, whoever is involved in the situation, and sending love to it. And that's where we keep coming back to: send love to yourself and send love to everything else, whether it's an antique or a person, a situation. It's like love is the highest vibration that we can experience, but we need to utilize it more.
Because the more you do, the easier life flows. I mean, and I say easier, you're just in harmony, you're just in joy, I say just like ooh, that's all. No,
just love, it's just joy.
Yeah, it's freaking amazing. It's amazing is what it is. It's not just. So I'll find different ways to convey that without putting a limiting, because that's almost feels like a limiting word to something so amazing that's limitless.
Yeah. And it's, again, it comes back to the more you express love towards yourself, the easier. And it really is. It is so easy to express love towards others and to love them where they're at, because I mean, we don't always agree with somebody in the way they speak or act, their characteristics, whatever it might be. that's where they're at with themselves. And you can either take it personal or you can send love to it and just move in a different direction. But the more love you're sending to that person energetically, you are contributing to them shifting, because they're going to feel some of that love. They might not feel all of it, but they're going to feel some of it. And the more people are sending love to them, the more the bigger the impact. Right. So yeah, I can sit and do some Reiki on myself, some energy work on myself. If I have 3, 4, 5 practitioners with me, all doing that, holy moly, right? We're more powerful the more we have focused on one thing. So, but love is the key. Love is the topic.
It is. And then it helps them. So then you start recognizing, because they're having a tug of war within themselves, and they've got their feet dug into the ground and they're not shifting forward and they don't know how. But somehow something all of a sudden, like they wake up that day, or they, something just shifts because you shifted things. We don't have to know how it plays out. We don't have to see how it plays out. But when you have an awareness, you see it. I mean, you just know. You just have a knowing about these things. And that's a wonderful place to be in. It really is. And it's not like, oh, look what I did for you. It's not anything like that. And automatically when I went to say that, I had to lean forward, because that's in the doing thing. That's like the ego kind of steps up. But it's like, it's just leaning. It's funny because I'm recognizing it, but it's just something that's so simple. It's just we say that all the time, but it really is. The process is so easy. We've made it seem so hard. We think that we've got to be touching people and be right in front of their face and prove to them and do all these things. And it's like, if I'm trying to prove something to somebody, what am I trying to prove to myself? Like all of it comes back to self. And before, I was having a hard time because I was trying to figure it out. Like, oh, well, why is that showing up in my experience? I don't do that. In some way, shape, or form, it shows up in your experience because you do it to yourself.
Right.
It's not that you're doing it to someone else. It's you're doing it to self, and you're probably, if you're doing it to self, you're more than likely doing it to somebody else as well.
So check yourself.
That's right. So love yourself.
Love yourself.
And that's a process. That's not, I mean, if we say that, and I remember when I first started going down that journey, it's like, I mean, it just didn't even make any sense. And then, it's just little tiny baby steps at first.
To me, I would compare it to like taking a calculus class.
Oh, yeah.
How are you going to know calculus unless you know basic math? You got to start somewhere, and you got to implement the techniques to learn and to advance. That doesn't have to be the word, but to advance in your practice, you got to practice. You got to have the skills. And each person, each book you read, each inspirational speaker you listen to is going to contribute in some way, and say it in a way that you can hear it in that moment, so you can make that shift. And that's what all the light workers are doing right now. We're just sharing what's working for us, and with the intention that it's going to help somebody else with whatever they're at with themselves.
Yeah, because it makes the journey easier, because there's a lot of energies coming in right now. We're amongst a lot of energies right now. There's a lot of elevation going on, a lot of shifting going on, and to someone that's has no awareness, it can feel kind of scary and crazy, and we're just here to make it easier.
Sending some love.
That's right.
All right, my friends, thank you so much for hanging out with us on this beautiful Monday morning. The podcast still comes out on Thursday. Bev and I, again, we share our wisdom, our information, our knowledge, whatever we've gained in our life that has helped us. And we just bring that information forward. We have these conversations to help each other, and with the intention that it's going to help you, as long as you're listening, and whatever you get from it, great. I hope it works. And as long as you implement, that's key. You can hear it, but it's not going to shift much. It's going to make a little shift because you're going to be thinking about it, but it'll shift more if you implement. So be sure to take the steps to move, take the action steps, right? To move with your life evolution and express more love towards yourself in the process.
Absolutely.
Any final words?
Just gets easier and easier. Celebrate, pat yourself on the back. You made it this far.
We got where, geez, I didn't think I'd make it this far, but I'm glad I did. So
Me too.
yeah, celebrate those wins. Doesn't matter how small they may seem to you, because every small step has a huge impact. So just keep going, my friends.
Yes. Have a
All
great
right.
week.
We'll see you next week. Talk to you later.
Bye.